Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Lawcast. This time, we're going back to cover New Japan grappling with a post-elite world. It's Dominion 2019. Kyush, how surprised are you that we're doing a non-Wrestle Kingdom New Japan show?
Surprised ain't the goddamn word for it, Steve. I am like floating above the clouds with joy. This was Steve's idea.
Yeah. This is Stockholm Syndrome. All these years you kidnapped me into this. I'm just realizing how much I miss this era of New Japan and how much this is probably the greatest run any promotion ever had.
It's actually so funny because you're the one who even said we really should have been doing this because there's so many New Japan shows that we didn't cover that were sort of along the way of this rise to power.
I have an idea we can start next year.
Yeah, well,
we have to go back.
I'm excited about that because
we're about to hit the end of the sad thing is we're about to hit the end of this New Japan era. Like Wrestle Kingdom 2020 is it. After that, COVID hits and it's never the same.
Yeah, Wrestle Kingdom 2020 is the WrestleMania 17. Like it's
the culmination,
peak, but it's the end.
Yeah, and fade to credits.
Now, this show that we're about to cover, which is Dominion, is actually. Dave Meltzer said at the time it was a mid-show that was not in any way outstanding for New Japan at the time.
But he's probably right, even though there's 3 matches between 4 and 5 stars on this show, maybe more if you're generous.
Yeah, he gave a full-on 5-star match to this show and then said, meh.
Which shows just how much he had prostituted his ratings by this point.
Yes, this is also the very first Will Ospreay 5-star match he ever gave out, but certainly not the last.
One of about 50 at this point.
But this is a show that, while it may have been mid at the time, almost every match is dripping with historical significance now.
Half these guys wrestle for either WWE or AEW now.
Yes, and all of New Japan's booking going forward, you could trace back to a 4-minute match on the undercard of this show. It's so weird.
All right, we'll talk about Dominion in a little bit. But first, we have so much news to talk about.
Yep.
Guys, this was one of those weeks we could have done a show just on all the stuff going on. We've had a few slow news weeks recently. This was not one of them. Where do we start? Let's start with the new World Heavyweight Champion. The Ring General Gunther reclaims the crown. He choked out Jey Uso on Raw to win back the belt. Clean victory. No Goldberg interference or Money in the Bank cash-in, as, well, frankly, I had been speculating would happen all day.
I mean, it definitely seemed like we were cooked up for something to happen, but Gunther just winning clean and erasing his WrestleMania mistake is definitely not what I had on my bingo card, but I'm happy with it.
No, I was pretty sure either Goldberg was going to come in and spear him or Seth was going to cash in Money in the Bank and win the title. But I'm all here for it. I love Gunther, and I think Gunther versus Sami Zayn would be a hell of a SummerSlam title match.
It is interesting to live in this world, though, where the Seth Rollins heel tornado is definitely coming. But this is sort of a statement that it's not here yet.
Not yet. No, if I were going to make a prediction, Sammy wins the King of the Ring. Sammy gets the shot at Gunther at SummerSlam, and Sammy gets the rug pulled out from under him by Seth on a Money in the Bank cash-in at SummerSlam.
This is an interesting question, Steve. Do you think Sami Zayn is ever going to win the world title?
Yes, at WrestleMania next year.
About to say, that's sort of the big thing that's never happened.
That's what they've got. That's kind of what they've got left. Is he the biggest star they've got who hasn't been a world champion?
Yeah, he's rapidly approaching that list of biggest stars ever who haven't won a world championship.
It's crazy to think about, given how much I've buried that man over the years.
That's right.
And yet here I am.
A janitor with an ugly beard, the worst look in wrestling history.
He did have the worst look ever. He looks way better now.
Oh, man.
I don't know. And just generally, how about that episode of Raw? Felt like the hardest they had tried in months.
You can tell whenever Triple H gets shaken out of his playing with his toys, and he's like, "What? I got to do stuff they like? Fuck, fine."
It's also just rhythmically time to kick it up for the summer. We're starting to build the SummerSlam. The couple months after WrestleMania, they're kind of supposed to be slow, but now you got to start to build that fever pitch. And last night, I mean, shit, all the stuff that happened. Bailey came back, world title changed hands. We set up Punk versus Cena, R-Truth promo. Let's talk about R-Truth's return.
Yes.
R-Truth is back, the shortest fire in history.
I'm sorry, Steve. R-Truth is not back.
Ron
fucking Killings is back.
You can't handle the truth.
Man, when I heard he was going to get to be Ron Killings for the first time since the early days of TNA, I was so hyped.
Man, we got robbed of the fact that Ron the Truth Killings never got a run on the national level.
And like, apparently that was one of the big like things that he was having trouble with at WWE is he really just wanted one last run where he got taken seriously and he could basically do that character, which is one of the great characters.
I think that's great. I think it's too late, but we'll see.
Yeah. I really just want to hear him call John Cena like a cracker-ass terrible rapper who stole his whole gimmick.
Yeah. I mean, so a couple things here. First, one, this was not a work. Like, and Triple H is sad and insecure for trying to claim it was. Why doesn't he just go, yeah, we listened to the fans. You know, the fans wanted him back, so we brought him back.
Did you see the picture that he did, like his classic shaking hands thing with Killings?
And it looked so unhappy to be there.
Oh my God, they hate each other.
It's like a Trump Ron DeSantis endorsement handshake.
I fucking love it. But also, like, Ron Killings, of all the fucking people in the year 2025, worked this company hard. Apparently,
Brian Pillman style.
Apparently, this man is the biggest, most important culture hire in the history of wrestling.
I mean, I don't think it was the fan backlash. I think it was the locker room backlash that was the problem.
But can you think of all the releases you've ever heard about? Do you ever remember hearing about a locker room backlash like this?
A revolt this big? I'm trying to think of anything else. This was so big, Nick Khan personally worked out the deal. Which, very interesting that Rock's buddy Nick Khan needs to get out there that Triple H sucks and Nick Khan had to fix this, right?
Yeah. Do you think that, like, Rock was like, actually, I love Killings. Why the fuck are you getting rid of him?
I think this might be another shot in the Rock Triple H Cold War.
I just love that it seems like everything in modern wrestling comes down to, like, Triple H versus The Rock. Like, it's just, their feud never stopped. It just happens in the boardroom now.
Is he turning heel? Because I got heel vibes from that promo last night.
It seems like he's turning heel on the fans, but still feuding with Cena. I don't know how that works.
I don't know what we're doing anymore. But yeah, like, he's so beloved, he's now going to turn heel. Probably just because that's what he wanted. Just like this ill-advised Cena heel turn, because it was what he wanted to do.
Man, I'm just hyped for whatever this is going to be. Probably he's too old to do anything effective. Yeah. But honestly, I would love him just as a manager doing this.
I was going to say,
who's manager?
It's an idea. I was trying to think of who he could manage.
There's a million people he can manage. No one in this company can talk.
Yeah. Story number 3. Money in the Bank results. I crushed you in the prediction contest.
Yeah.
The only thing you got right was Seth winning, which was the only thing I got wrong.
And is the only, but like you gave it to me because you knew he was going to win.
Grande Americano. that was my money shot.
Oh God, yeah, this was a bad one for me, boys and girls.
Seth Rollins is Mr. Money in the Bank. Naomi is Mrs. Money in the Bank. Becky won the women's IC title. Jacob Fatu turned on Solo. I don't know anything else notable here.
Not really.
R-Truth interfered in the main event. That was when they put the tag match on last. I was like, "Oh, they're definitely having Seth cash in." Nope.
I mean, Seth cashing in on Cena would have been like one of the weirdest things that could have ever imagined. Possibly,
I thought he was going to cash in on Jay.
I know, but I just like now that you've said that, I was just like, "What if he cashed in on Cena? What a weird way to end Cena's reign."
Yeah, not the greatest show.
I mean, no, it was bad. I mean, I didn't watch the majority of it. I watched some of the matches, but like nothing about it was exciting. Do you remember when Money in the Bank was exciting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they should move Money in the Bank back to WrestleMania. I think WrestleMania could use the Money in the Bank matches.
Yeah. Now that it's 2 nights, you could just have one night be Money in the Bank.
One each night. Yeah. Did you watch any of Worlds Collide?
I watched the main event between Gable and Vikingo. It was a great
Raw.
match. Yeah.
As someone hilariously said on Twitter, WWE presenting a good AAA show is proof they're not going to do an authentic AAA experience. When is the last time a major AAA show delivered?
Never.
Yeah.
But also, like, guys, I kept seeing people on Twitter being like, oh my God, they're paying so much homage to AAA and Mexican wrestling. No, guys, they weren't. The fact that Negro Casas was in the front row and they panned straight by him like he was a jabroni fan made me so viscerally upset.
I thought Graves did a great job on commentary to focus on some positives.
Honestly, yeah. Like, who knew that he was actually educated enough to be able to do that?
I didn't know his brother wrestles in AAA, or did.
I didn't either. I didn't even know he had a brother.
Didn't know this. Just hearing this for the first time. And Conan. Wasn't expecting Conan to be involved at all.
That is actually kind of stunning because, like, are they actually gonna let Conan be involved with this? Because that is I
think he's
risky play. Yeah, I have to imagine.
Risky business. I heard they called Mike Tenay about it and couldn't work out a deal with him.
Mike Tenay.
Tenay calling this would have been insane.
The voice of both when worlds collide.
Can't believe AEW never did anything with Tenay, especially since he lives out in Vegas and they, used to do Double or Nothing there every year.
My understanding is that Tenay got burnt so bad by TNA, he's just done.
Old friend Tony Tony Schiavone couldn't talk him into it.
I guess not.
Story number 4, Night of Champions takes shape. We've got Cena versus Punk for the WWE title it's so funny that CM Punk is going to wrestle in Saudi Arabia, but not at all surprising match.
I want to take you guys back. If you've been on Twitter for even a single millisecond, you're fully aware of this because he's been getting clowned all day. But, like, to win The Miz said something, he made some vague mention of CM Punk, like, I'm going to change the culture or whatever. And then Punk clowned him on Twitter for being like a sellout who like wrestles in like blood money Saudi Arabia. CM Punk, not only are you going to wrestle in Saudi Arabia, this isn't like a Sami Zayn thing where like Triple H finally threatened your job over it, so you have to go. The whole show's built around you, you fuck.
Yeah. What else have we got? The finals of the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments, which bizarrely the first round is all 4-way matches. What the hell is this?
I don't know, but they seem to be doing this a lot now, right? Like
Triple H loves 4-ways.
But like, well, I mean,
he's by a lot of things, but lingual isn't one of them.
That's right. I don't hate this as an idea for like getting a lot of people involved. And
I do.
Well, okay, fair enough.
Bullshit. I want singles matches. I want some real grappling.
I know. But they have so many people just sitting back and catering that I'm like, I do like getting...
You tell me you can't do a 16-person tournament with all this TV time they have?
I mean, you could, but they won't, and they never have.
Sami Zayn and Roxanne Perez have both already advanced into the semifinals. There's a mystery spot in the men's tournament. I really don't know who that's going to.
Yeah, who's around who could even be a mystery guy? I don't even know.
I don't think Drew's been gone long enough to be a mystery return.
Well, you know who it was last time? Shane McMahon. Bring him
back. The best in the world.
Let him defend his belt.
And story number 5, Okada versus Omega is official for All In. We are so back.
Okay, so we've been talking about this WWE stuff, and like I'm happy to go along with it because we do a wrestling podcast. But like my attention has been drawn to AEW like a magnet to a fucking lodestone, guys. Like we got Hangman on top where he belongs. We got Okada versus Omega 5, one of probably the greatest in-ring rivalry of all time at this point, guys.
Yeah,
the feeling is back.
We had the all-time sicko 4-hour Dynamite / Collision block last week.
And you know what? It ruled. And they're going to do it again this week.
Yeah. I think Collision is moving to a weeknight next year. Once the NBA's gone, there's no reason not to.
I mean, that makes perfect sense. I mean, I would have been fine with it disappearing forever, but like weeknight makes perfect sense. But yeah, like I'm like The Rock patting his arm every time I see Okada and Omega share a ring together. Just like, here it is, brother. This
They
is the feeling.
They're doing a video package next week.
I don't know if I've ever been so hyped for the announcement of a video package before. Maybe not since the original Bray Wyatt video packages.
I was gonna say maybe the video package will main event the show.
I would tune in just for it.
Can they just show one of the matches? Could they just show the original match?
If
New Japan would let them. I mean, I don't think that would be a bad idea.
See, that's interesting because there are 4 of them. So, like, even if you don't show the original, like, maybe they're like, you got to buy New Japan World for the best match ever. But, like, you guys want to see, like, the Dominion match where Omega wins?
The one that got 7 stars was the one Omega won.
Yeah. You guys
so apparently that was the greatest match ever.
You guys want to see them fighting the G1? It's worth it every time. It doesn't matter. Do it.
All right. Let's turn the clock back to Dominion 2019.
Yay!
Back in January, we covered Wrestle Kingdom 13, where in the main event, Hiroshi Tanahashi beat Kenny Omega to win the IWGP Championship. Correct me if I'm wrong. Tanahashi was not supposed to win that match, right? Did that just happen because Omega was leaving?
Yes, that happened because Omega was leaving. Like, the plan was to fully solidify Omega as the top guy of the company for their American expansion. Yeah. But they knew...
was he going to drop the belt to Okada in New York?
That's probably what was going to happen, yeah. I mean, Tanahashi barely holds this belt for like 10 fucking minutes before he loses it. But, like, they knew... At least with Kenny, they knew a little bit far out that he was going. I don't think they knew that, like, the whole American side of the company was leaving together. But, like, Kenny made it pretty clear he wasn't re-signing.
Yeah, I mean, but they had, 2 weeks notice. So the match was already set. And did Kenny stick around at all after Wrestle Kingdom, or was that it for him?
I think he did, like, New Year's Dash and maybe one other thing.
Yeah.
I can't fully remember, but, I
don't think it would have made sense to have him beat Tanahashi and then lose the belt on that New Year's Dash show. Isn't that in front of like 1,000 people?
Yeah, he wasn't going to stay all the way till New Beginning, so what's the point? Yeah. Having Tanahashi win actually wound up being like kind of a nice button on Tanahashi's career. Obviously, he's only just now retiring, but
saved New Japan from the Imperial, whatever you want to call it.
And like, as we addressed on that Wrestle Kingdom show, you could look at that as functionally the end of New Japan. I'm sure, like, to a lot of people, it kind of was. But to Japanese fans, it really wasn't, because that wasn't...
2020 was the biggest Wrestle Kingdom ever, right?
Yes, because as we mentioned, there were 2 gigantic megastars that were being built at the same time. One was Omega, who was built for the American fans, and one was Naito, who had finally caught fire and at the same time was kind of being raised up also. They chose to go with Omega because they wanted the expansion. But the Japanese fans are just all in on Naito. They don't give a fuck about it.
Thinking of the fact that, like, New Japan America versus OG New Japan could have been like a new U5 versus New Japan, 100%. And what we were deprived of with that, like, you'd have Kenny and Jericho and all the American guys always talking shit about how they're better than New Japan. American wrestling is the best. And then you could have had some incredible New Japan versus New Japan America shows.
That was pretty obviously where we were going.
Would have been white hot.
Yeah, who knows what American New Japan would have looked like. I don't think they had the infrastructure to really make it work.
I think it would have been a supersized version of New Japan Strong.
Yeah. But here we are in the summer. All of that is gone and washed away like tears in rain. The belt's back on Okada because that's what they do when they don't have any other ideas.
I've seen booking decisions you wouldn't believe.
And we're now reformulating. And what kind of saves this year for them is they have maybe the 2 best tournaments they've ever run in the history of the company, with the best of the Super Juniors, which had just ended, which was main evented by Takagi versus Ospreay. which really is the one that like makes Osprey a star, and then the G1 we're going into, which might be the best G1 of all time.
Well, let's back up to the 2 world title changes that happened before.
Sure.
This, this belt changing hands 3 times in 1 year feels like a record.
Much less 3 times by the summertime.
Yeah. So Tanahashi beat Omega at the January 4th Tokyo Dome show. Tanahashi would then lose the belt to Jay White on February 11th at New Beginning in Osaka. This is practically a tradition that Tanahashi gets beat in his first title defense after Wrestle Kingdom, right?
Yes. Aside from his one mega long title reign, I think he averaged like 3 months. Like, he's not a guy who held the title a long time, especially
it was just
after
like
younger
Wrestle
days.
Kingdom would take everything out of him. Also, just like the way this works, it's kind of like, you know, you've had your babyface champion for a while. He defended the title at Wrestle Kingdom. Let's get it off him, get it on a heel, and he can chase them.
Wrestle Kingdom resets the year.
Yeah.
They start their booking for the next year based on who they want to push for that year. That's just how it works.
Then on the April 6th show at Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena, which they sold out to the rafters, Okada beat Jay White. Okada had won the New Japan Cup, and he won the IWGP title as a result. Now, some Ring of Honor dorks will maintain that Ring of Honor sold out Madison Square Garden. That is false. New Japan sold out Madison Square Garden, and some Ring of Honor people happened to be on the card.
I think the Ring of Honor main event of that night was like Jay Lethal versus Kyle O'Reilly or some whack shit.
That couldn't sell out the St. Paul Rec Center.
I believe their next show that they ran without New Japan drew like 800 fans. So like, guys, but this is how hot New Japan was at the time. Is that like Jay White constantly says now that he sold out Madison Square Garden. He did. And he's like their 7th biggest star.
Kevin Nash never sold out Madison Square Garden.
A lot of people have never sold out Madison Square Garden, including WWE recently.
Yeah. Even The Rock and Steve Austin couldn't that one time.
That's right. Look, this is an unbelievable feat. Like, selling out Madison Square Garden is like 20,000 plus. Like, that's a huge venue.
Big arena.
But, like, that's just how hot it was and how protected New Japan was on American soil. It hadn't happened that many times.
Hadn't they only run the show in Long Beach at that point?
I think they had 2 others. I think I had already gone to the one in Canada that I got to go to before this. Because
around this time, hilariously, they ran a show in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Oh, man, and you didn't even go to that shit.
No, I didn't even know it was happening. I don't think I wasn't living in Michigan at that point.
You son of a bitch. Yeah, I went to one in Canada that had Nakamura on it, so that must have been a couple years before.
At Dontaku in May, Okada beat Sonata to retain the title, and then Chris Jericho appeared on the screen in his Painmaker garb.
Yeah, this is the birth of the atrocious Painmaker gimmick.
And Jericho challenged him to a title match at Dominion, and Okada asked, "What is a Painmaker?"
And then at another show on the way into this, he called him the Lame Maker, which is an awesome own that the fans love.
He did kind of cook with that. Rainmaker versus Painmaker is a cool tagline, but this Jericho Painmaker look is super cringe.
Like he looks like a bad mime, like a mime who's fallen on hard times.
For? It's like a Sting Crow type deal.
I think this is supposed to be like a serial killer kind of thing, like a Zodiac. I don't fucking know. I if you asked him, he probably. I guarantee you, he thinks it's the coolest shit he's ever done.
I'm sure it's based on like Marilyn Manson or something.
Like it's gonna have some obscure shit.
I need to Google Marilyn Manson because I'm forgetting what that look was, but I think it's kind of Marilyn Manson-ish.
Yeah, he's got like the jacket with like the spikes. Basically, he was doing his AEW shtick this whole time. So like you guys all know this look.
Also on this show, we're going to get Kota Ibushi defending the Intercontinental title against Naito. Ibushi has beaten Naito twice this year. First, he beat him in the New Japan Cup, and then he beat him for the IC title at the MSG show. So he's going to try to make it 3 in a row here. Quite the
If it
push
seems,
for Ibushi.
yes, they think Ibushi might be the future, and it's just like when WWE thought Jeff Hardy was the future. I can see how you got there, but
Or when WWE thought Ibushi was the guy that could build their cruiserweight division around.
even though they never bothered to ask him, and then when
Yeah.
they finally did, he was like, "No, thank you," and left.
Like, I don't want to live in America. Are you
Bye.
crazy?
If you think Naito and Ibushi are kind of big stars to be competing for the Intercontinental title, that's because New Japan has a vision.
Yeah.
The IC titles become so big unto itself, largely due to the efforts of Nakamura, that they're like, they already know that at Wrestle Kingdom, they're going to do 2 nights for the very first time. And they're going to unify these belts. That's the plan for the 2 nights. They're going to, at the end, they're going to have one ultimate unified mega champion out of Naito, Ibushi, Okada, and Jay White. They already know where they're going. And the whole rest of the year is just going to be like a 4-way battle for power between those 4.
And for the junior title, we're going to have Will Ospreay challenging Dragon Lee. Ospreay became the number 1 contender by winning the Best of the Super Juniors tournament. As we mentioned, he beat Shingo Takagi in Takagi's first ever pinfall loss in New Japan.
Yes, Takagi, who is way too big to be a
Comically
cruiserweight.
big to be a junior.
Yeah, he played the cruiserweight bully, went undefeated through the tournament until Ospreay finally beat him. That's part of what made it such a great tournament. He was just obliterating people. Dragon Lee is not supposed to be here. This is where Takahashi breaks his neck while feuding with Dragon Lee. So Dragon Lee's the champion. This was supposed to be Takahashi putting Ospreay over.
All right. Before we get into the show, are you ready for this New Japan Lightning round?
I'm so curious as to what you dug up for this. Yes, let's do it.
The disastrous Undertaker versus Goldberg match took place in Saudi Arabia. They nearly both killed each other here.
I forgot that happened.
One of the worst matches of all time.
Like, seeing Goldberg talk about it, and Goldberg, who's maybe had, I don't know, 5 good matches his entire career, he talks about it like it's the worst thing he's ever done.
And he's probably right. It's insane that after that bullshit, here we are 6 years later, and Goldberg's apparently going to have a match this year.
That jackhammer that he does to Taker, where he drops him straight on top of his head, is like foul. That could have killed him.
I mean, everything went wrong here. Goldberg concussed himself on the post about 2 minutes in. He fucked up that tombstone and dropped Undertaker on his head. Then he dropped Undertaker on his head again with that jackhammer that turned into a brain buster. Then he couldn't get up for the choke slam, and that was the end of the match because I think he just forgot to kick out.
Like, literally, this is
horrifying.
I'm amazed Taker ever worked another match after this, because I wouldn't have.
Abominated. This should have probably been it for both guys.
I'm amazed the Saudis didn't cancel their shit after this and the DX versus Brothers of Destruction match. Like, guys, what are we doing?
AEW announced their TV deal on TNT, and New Japan said, good for you guys. We're so happy for you.
And they really meant it, too.
Yeah.
But I do remember that as one of the great shutting up of dickheads on the internet days in Twitter history, where people had been like, yeah, they're drawing okay on pay-per-view, but they don't have TV, so they're not a big deal. And then they got TNT.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Brock Lesnar hilariously won the Money in the Bank ladder match despite not being in it.
Yep.
Sorry, Mustafa. Dude just got the rug pulled out from under him again.
Was it Mustafa who was literally standing on
top of the ladder? He was going to win it. Yeah, he went out there thinking, I think they told him during the match he wasn't going to win. So yeah, he's up at the top of the ladder about to unhook it, and Brock's music hits, and he just stands there terrified like a dickhead.
Because to him, no one smartened him up. So he's like, well, here comes Brock. Am I supposed to win it anyway? What?
WWE announced an $8.4 million loss for the first quarter. Times were not good.
No, they weren't. The fact that we are literally about to launch into one of the biggest boom periods in company history is impossible to imagine.
Well, all it took was Vince McMahon getting fired.
I mean, you could kind of say that COVID helped. It's
it
weird.
gave him a reset.
It gave him a chance to make Roman, and
Yeah.
Roman was what it took.
AEW presented the Double or Nothing pay-per-view, headlined by Jericho defeating Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley debuting.
God, that was a hot segment when Moxley jumped the guardrail. I go back and watch that all the time.
I do wish they had waited until the first episode of Dynamite.
I know, but me too, because I was there, and I
That
really
would
would
have
have liked that.
if they had held off on the Moxley debut until the first episode of Dynamite. I would consider that Dynamite premiere on par with the first Nitro.
In fairness, though, I think they felt like they needed
Yeah.
to let people know that he would be there to draw for that Dynamite.
Moxley did his infamous podcast with Jericho where he buried WWE. On that show, he revealed he got a $500 payoff for his last show in WWE, in which him and The Shield were in the main event of a pay-per-view.
A $500 payoff.
$500.
I think that was the most damning thing that a lot of people have buried Vince in WWE over the years, but his was so it felt so targeted when it was him, right?
He was so much just like, Vince has no idea what he's doing. Vince has totally lost it. Like, they don't have a clue what they're doing. It's totally broken. Like, this was, and it wasn't whiny or bitter. Like, he was totally just like, I thought he was totally measured and fair, but accurate.
Yes. I think that was maybe more of a contributing factor to people seeking out stuff outside of WWE than like a lot of things like that. Because I think like he convinced people that he was right, like because he was.
David Letterman said in an interview that he was actually smartened up to the Jerry Lawler, Andy Kaufman angle before it happened. It's still real to me, damn it.
Wait, who would have smartened him up, do you think?
Lawler told him what he was going to do.
I mean, I guess that makes sense because otherwise security's going to fucking rush him, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was so quick that, like, it was literally just Kaufman threw coffee on Lawler. Lawler slapped him, and, like, Kaufman stormed off the stage. And Kaufman came back later. I don't remember. Is Lawler still there when Kaufman comes back? I can't remember.
I don't think he was.
Yeah, I think Lawler has left, and then Kaufman comes back, and that's when he cuts the super profane promo. God, what a great moment. Like, one of the best wrestling angles of all time, and it didn't happen on a wrestling show.
That is the stunning thing, is I don't feel like enough people know how big that shit was. Like, to get on Letterman
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, on Letterman, and to shoot this just brilliantly done angle.
It felt real. It still feels real. If you go YouTube this right now, it looks real.
I hate to give credit to Jerry Lawler, but he's incredible there.
He was the perfect guy for that spot, too, because, like, nobody looks more like a pro wrestler than Jerry Lawler.
Jerry Lawler back then with his huge belly and his goatee.
Yep.
Impact presented the Rebellion pay-per-view in which Brian Cage beat Johnny Impact for the Impact World title. That could have main evented an Ultima Lucha.
I was about to say, what's your angle on this? Because nobody was watching TNA at this point.
Machine.
Literally nobody was watching TNA in 2019.
What got more views? That pay-per-view or some of Brian Cage's other activities on the internet?
Probably those. I know which one I watched and which I didn't.
The NWA and Ring of Honor put on the first Crockett Cup since 1988, won by Brody King and PCO. Hell yeah.
I mean, that's a
Crockett Cup.
That's such a cool idea. I wish we still had Crockett Cups going. That's something
How does AEW not do this? One, AEW really should have a tag team tournament.
Yep.
And yeah, do the Crockett Cup. They've already worked with Jim Crockett.
I love that idea. Let's fucking do it.
Yeah. Raw did its lowest non-holiday rating in history with a 1.56 on April 29th. That would be 2.1 million viewers, which is significantly more than Raw was getting on USA before it moved to Netflix.
Guys, let's just point out, that, like, hey, remember when we were talking about how shitty ratings were during the invasion? And it's like quadruple that.
Yeah, they were doing like 6 million viewers, and it's like, this is the worst thing ever.
And secondly, AEW could not possibly have launched at a better time because WWE had never been weaker than at that exact moment.
In response, WWE introduced, quote, the wild card rule, in which 3 wrestlers from SmackDown could appear on Raw each week.
Oh, you mean the Roman Reigns wrestles on every show rule?
Also in response, like a week after this, they hired Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff.
Which is its own awesomely crazy thing that I think we'll talk about more before the G1 show.
And finally, the hammer. Matt Morgan was elected the mayor of his hometown of Lakewood, Florida. Unquestionably the tallest mayor in the country.
Matt Morgan, extremely bad wrestler, incredible advocate for ADHD awareness.
Oh, good for him.
Love you for that, Matt. Thank you.
Not the best wrestler to ever be mayor, because Jesse Ventura was the mayor of like Brook Park, Minnesota, or whatever his hometown was.
Of the 3 people I know have been mayor, he's easily the worst but the tallest.
Yeah. So, got that going for him.
Yeah, he's the blueprint, baby.
All right. And now let's go outside the bubble in which we talk about what else was going on in the world at this time.
Probably nothing good.
Nope, assuredly not. Well, there's one thing that I think you enjoyed we'll talk about in a second. The St. Louis Blues defeated the Boston Bruins in 7 games to win the Stanley Cup. This was the first ever Stanley Cup championship in the 51-year history of the St. Louis Blues, ending a remarkable drought.
Damn. I don't think that I had realized it when I heard that happened. That's crazy.
Yeah. And man, it's crazy. It feels like the Stanley Cup finals go 7 games practically every other year.
Somebody pointed out, I think because like a Stanley Cup game this year went to overtime or something. Did you know that if a Stanley Cup game goes to 4 overtimes, they drop a second puck?
What do you mean?
Like they add another puck. Like if it goes to 4 overtimes.
What the fuck are you talking about? That's not true.
Is that not true? I just read that on Twitter today. Okay, delete that.
Absolutely not true.
Delete that.
No, I'm leaving that in.
Bullshit.
For shame. Gary Woodland won the U.S. Open by 3 strokes over defending champion Brooks Koepka. Can't say I know who Gary Woodland is.
I don't know who either of those people are.
Pop charts all summer dominated by Old Town Road by Lil Nas X. That was number 1 from April until August.
Deservedly so.
Maybe the song of the decade.
I believe it was the biggest hit in the history of the Billboard Top 100 until that like Tipsy song from like last year.
Oh, Shabuzi.
That incredibly horrible song. Like it stayed number 1 for longer.
What is it about black guys doing country music?
I don't know. It's just appealing to everybody.
Yeah. Box office leaders: John Wick 3, Aladdin, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and The Secret Lives of Pets 2. We are firmly into the era where the only things that make money at the box office are sequels and kids' movies.
Man, I know that some people really like that John Wick movie, but I think you just listed a bunch of garbage movies.
You didn't like John Wick 3? I actually can't remember which John Wick movie is which, but I've liked all of them. I even like Ballerina, which I saw this weekend.
Listen, I have no problem with any John Wick movie, but just like we're firmly in an era at that time where like nothing good comes out. It's just like, why bother going to see any of these?
And finally, the Toronto Raptors won their first NBA championship as they defeated the Golden State Warriors in 6 games.
We ended the Golden State dynasty. We did it.
I should note that Golden State was ravaged by injuries here.
You don't have to note that.
You don't have to do that.
It's not relevant that Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant were both knocked out of the series.
Kawhi Leonard won the Finals MVP, making him, LeBron, and Kareem the only 3 players in history to win the Finals MVP with 2 different teams. We love to compare NBA players to pro wrestlers. Is Kawhi Leonard Sid Vicious?
In terms of, what he is?
Sid wrestled at 2 WrestleManias and he main evented both of them, and he's one of the only guys to main event both WrestleMania and Starrcade, but like his career was so brief and chaotic.
And much like Sid, he so personally fit exactly what I needed at a certain point in time that I will love him forever. The city of Toronto will love Kawhi Leonard, will turn out for his funeral one day, will be the people who elect him into the Hall of Fame. He was only with us for 1 year, but it is maybe that playoff run was
Yeah.
maybe the best any player of this generation has been for like 4 games straight. Like
That insane shot against Philly. One of the greatest shots in NBA history.
best moment in our franchise's history.
Oh yeah, it's not a lot of competition. No,
No.
second is like Vince Carter winning the dunk contest.
Guys, being a Toronto Raptors fan has been a long, lonely road all the way from like 1996 when I thought,
Is this the only time they've even been to the conference
Yes.
finals?
yes,
Yeah.
that's correct. We've never even had a team I was confident in the playoffs before
No.
that.
Vince
Like-
Carter win like 2 playoff series in his career.
I'm not even sure it was
Did he even
2.
win 1? Didn't they get to the second round against Philly and he missed the jumper the day it was the day he went to his UNC graduation before the game?
Yeah, so they all blamed him
Yeah.
on that and called him soft. Yeah.
Yeah, for caring about celebrating his education. That's Mark shit.
It's been really horrible, but this one, and we weren't supposed to win it this year. Fuck no.
God, no.
We were like the 3rd favorite in the East, maybe. And it was just a magical run where every single series went to like 7 games. And like every single time it felt like Kawhi bailed us out with a miracle at the last second. Oh, that parade after they won the NBA finals is, I think, the most jubilant NBA fans I've ever seen.
So to get into the show, I have it down that it's Sunday. I think I did look this up, and it was a Sunday, June 9th, 2019. I'd sometimes just autopilot that the shows take place on Sunday, but I had to check for this one, but I think it was on a Sunday.
Yeah, it's not always on Sunday, but this one was.
No. We're at Osaka-jo Hall in Osaka, Japan, with almost 12,000 in attendance, 11,900. Strong showing for, New Japan's non-Tokyo Dome shows. It's probably one of the bigger ones of the year.
Yeah, it is. This is, you could say it's either Dominion or, yeah, it's Dominion. And this is with the biggest attendance ever in Osaka-jo Hall for any event.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah.
On commentary, Kevin Kelly, Don Callis, and that British guy whose name I can't remember.
You mean Chris Charlton, who's the current guy? Yeah.
He's still around. He didn't get fired for talking shit about Tony Khan.
No, because that was a fucking work.
It didn't lead to anything, but that's just AEW booking.
Yeah, that wasn't real. But this is a really bad announce team. At the time I really liked Kevin Kelly because and I think that's just because he was the first person who just gave me English commentary for New Japan, so I became fond of him. Holy crap, is their commentary team better now? My God, Don Callis is bad.
I'm very happy to not have to hear his voice. Actually, I have to hear his voice on Dynamite every week.
Yeah. The best part about this is that every time something would happen in Japanese, they'd throw it to Chris Charlton, who would just start telling you actual relevant things about the show, which Kevin Kelly and Don Callis are not capable of doing.
No, I don't speak Japanese.
Yeah, they have no idea, but they also just don't have any idea what's going on.
Oh, they don't follow these storylines.
No.
Opening package runs through the matches in order, which I always appreciate. It makes it feel like a real sporting event.
God, New Japan has such great opening show packages. They'll have every single one of these events has a theme that's always the theme that they use. It's the same one every time. And then it just charges in and it's this match. And then it shows the relevant clips. This match. I just love it.
Opening match, Shota Umino versus Jon Moxley. Surely this won't end in disaster.
So Shota Umino is a young lion.
He looks
who is
16 years old.
Yes, he's a baby, a full-on child. He had a close match against Tanahashi at a recent show. And so he's decided to be a big boy and challenge a big star. And then Jon Moxley's the one who accepted the challenge.
Jon Moxley is already the U.S. champion because he beat Juice Robinson for it at, I can't remember which show it was. And he is already way over. Japanese fans love this guy.
So let's talk about Jon Moxley's entry into New Japan, which was his first thing he did after he left WWE. We get these videos for weeks and weeks and weeks of just somebody sitting in a bar carving something on the bar that looks like an hourglass. And then he's the first guy I know who like really went out and put a bunch of time into like a video with like him in like a prison yard and like dogs barking and sirens going off and shit. And then because he made this video himself,
Not
like
himself. He paid for it. It was like $10,000.
this was his vision. And then and then finally they revealed that he was carving an X and it's Moxley, to a huge reaction. But this is also a very different thing. So in his time off, he's been doing jujitsu. He's gotten himself into unbelievable shape. Like,
Yeah.
by far the best shape he was ever in. Like the biggest thing that we always held against Dean Ambrose is that he looked like a dickhead. He was super skinny, had shitty hair. Like, here he's shaved his head, gotten into brick shape, and is wearing wrestling tights for the first time in his career.
Moxley beats the shit out of Shota and stretches him, even fish hooks him.
Yeah, this Moxley is a menace.
Nasty.
Like, he comes through the crowd. He is basically New Age Bruiser Brody. This is the closest we've gotten to Brody since his death.
When Shota gets in some offense, Moxley taunts him and tells him to hit harder.
Yeah, this match goes 4 minutes, and it could have gone 1. Moxley just plays with him.
Shota does get a drop kick and a German suplex, but Moxley kicks out, and then Moxley beats him up some more, hits him with the Death Rider, and pins him in 3 minutes. After the match, he gets on the mic to declare himself for the G1, and he carries Shota to the back. I love how they just redid this with Wheeler Yuta in AEW.
Quite literally, yes. So
it's like, give me a little Asian guy to be my protege.
First of all, there's a really cute moment in here where he says, "I'm John Moxley from Cincinnati, Ohio." But Ohio in Japanese means like, "Oh, hi there." Which, so a bunch of people in the crowd say it back to him.
Ohio, yeah.
And so, yeah. But when he picks up Shota and like starts carrying him to the back, the crowd like goes kind of crazy for that. That was entirely improv by Moxley. He was not supposed to do that. The whole adopting of the young lion Shota Umino was totally his idea and just some shit he did for fun. It will set out Shota's future and the future of New Japan.
Oops.
Just on accident.
Accidentally fucked up everything by trying to be a nice guy.
Well, if it had worked out, that would have been fine. But as we live in the present time, we know that Shota Umino got the push to the sun and failed hilariously. And is now, he literally shaved his head in penance for how badly he did.
Good.
Yeah, it's bad, guys.
Obviously, this was short, but I think it was exactly what it should have been. I wouldn't have changed anything.
Yeah, like as a moment in time, it's just such a cool little moment, and like such a way to sell how unpredictable Moxley is.
Second match, Satoshi Kojima against Shingo Takagi. As we mentioned, Takagi lost his first singles match in New Japan to Ospreay in the finals of the Best of the Super Juniors. He's been demanding to wrestle heavyweights, so he gets to face the legendary former world champion Kojima.
So this is the way it works in Japan. You can't just go from being a junior heavyweight to like wrestling top level heavyweights. Even Takagi, who is the same size as the heavyweights, has to do like a transitional period where he beats other credible heavyweights before you can take him seriously. And Kojima is like always that guy.
Kojima is 50, but he's in remarkable shape.
He still wrestles now. I think he's still the MLW world champion.
Fuck MLW.
Yeah, exactly.
Christ. He hits a plancha to the floor early in the match. They fight on the floor right up to the 19 count. Kojima hits the machine gun chops in the corner and then the lariato.
Yeah, the story of this match is they both have devastating lariats, but like Takagi thinks he has a devastating lariat and Kojima just humbles him.
Yeah. They fight on the apron. Takagi hits a Death Valley driver. Kojima recovers and hits his own DDT on the apron. Back in the ring, he hits a cutter from the top rope. Kojima sets up for the lariat, but Takagi collapses. That gives him time to recover and hit a DDT. Then Takagi hits a lariat, but Kojima laughs at him and kicks out at 1.
That was probably my favorite part of the match.
Another lariat, and then the last of the dragon, which is like a, I don't know, sit down Death Valley driver.
Yep. The one where he
That
kind of
gets the
turns it
win.
into a leg drop at the end.
Yeah. Huge win for Takagi as he beats, one of New Japan's legends.
Obviously, Takagi's going to go on to be a gigantic star and a future world champion, all of that stuff. You can definitely see that here.
He also gets on the mic after the match to announce for the G1.
It is funny, too, because like the fans went so nuts when Moxley said he was in it. And for Takagi, they're like, oh, okay. You too, buddy. Go for it.
Very good match. Really liked how hard hitting it was. Obviously, Kojima is tough, but the younger Takagi was just too much for him.
Takagi's just such a great example of how well they were able to reload after everything kind of bailed. Is that like he was a huge star for Dragon Gate, and then they just bring him in. He's just an extra guy during.
He's only been here since like the end. Didn't he come in like late 2018?
Yeah, like October, I think.
Yeah. So the Dome was his first major match, and at this point, he's already on his way to stardom.
Yeah, like people who frame it as like AEW or like in New Japan died when the Elite left. It's not true. Like they had 1 million soldiers.
Next up, a tag match with Minoru Suzuki and Zack Sabre Jr. against Jushin Liger and Yoshihashi. This is Liger's retirement tour. His last match is going to be at the Tokyo Dome in January.
It's really interesting, though, that like Liger could have just done the normal retirement tour, like Inoki style, where he just kind of like wrestles a bunch of people and like waves at all the crowds. Instead, he decides that he wants to do a bitter blood rivalry against Minoru Suzuki for his last year.
It's very strange. I don't know if that's a stranger decision than turning John Cena heel for his retirement tour.
Turning Liger heel for his retirement tour would have been interesting. I'm not sure it would have been possible.
So Liger and Suzuki fought in Pancrase in 2002?
Yes, that is correct. That was during, as you recall, they tried, this is during Inokiism where they even had Liger doing MMA matches.
He wore his mask, just he wasn't allowed to wear the horns in the ring.
Yeah, it didn't go well for him.
I thought Pancrase was a work.
It is
a shoot.
So this is when Liger was attempting to do shoot fights, all of which went extremely bad. But yeah, that was an extension of that and his new persona he was trying to build.
So that was real?
The attempt at MMA, yeah.
Yeah, he did. I thought Pancrase was a work.
Yeah.
Sorta.
My
understanding is that Pancrase fight was a shoot. Like, if it was a work, why the fuck did they have Liger get dominated and humiliated and lose in like a minute?
Yeah, I'm not actually 100% sure about that. And anybody who says that they are is a fucking liar. My understanding is that the winner was determined ahead of time, but the means was a shoot.
Yeah, I heard Ken Shamrock say that he labeled it a stiff work. I think he was talking about Pancrase.
Like, you're not trying to break a guy's arm or anything, but like, and they tell you who's going to win ahead of time.
But they're not like, you're not planning out spots. It's kind of like you're fighting, like fight like it's real.
Yeah, if Liger could have survived longer, they would have gone longer, but he couldn't, so he didn't.
That's insane. I kind of love it.
Yeah. But like there was plans for more Liger like MMA stuff after that. It's just that he got his ass whooped. This is like some CM Punk level ass whooping.
Suzuki and Sabre get Hashi in the ring and they beat the piss out of him. Liger jumps in and kicks Hashi to fire him up. That was a very funny spot.
Yes. Yoshihashi for so long was just the lovable failure of this roster.
Liger tags in. He gets beaten up too. Neither him or Hashi can get anything going. But then Hashi catches Sabre in a small package out of nowhere to get the pin. This was interesting.
Yeah, this was to set up Yoshihashi for the number one contender for the British world title for the British tour they were about to do.
Clearly didn't have enough titles in this promotion.
Yeah, this was actually the Rev Pro world title that they called the British heavyweight title. So he
was to WCW when they called Conan the Mexican champion.
Basically, yeah.
Next up, a 6-man tag. Team Japan, which is Tanahashi, Juice Robinson, and Risuke Taguchi, against Team Bullet Club, Jay White, Chase Owens, and Taji Ishimori.
There's cool people in this, so maybe you think this might be good. This match fucking sucks.
Tanahashi should not be wrestling here. He does not look right.
Like, Tanahashi is like nursing a couple of injuries, like that he got on the way to Wrestle Kingdom. And like, he has to wrestle in the G1 coming up.
Why are they have like, what is the point of him being in this match?
He never missed a pay-per-view. I don't know that he's ever missed a pay-per-view, ever.
Crazy. They really should have just given him time off. Like this match is a totally unnecessary match on this card.
Yeah, if you want to know how fucked up he was, he had just had the entire previous month off for the Super Junior tournament, and he still looks this bad.
Yeah. He wins with a very slow, sloppy sling blade.
Yeah, he will never actually
do the high fly flow.
He will never fully be healthy again. Like his last actual healthy match was the one at Wrestle Kingdom, and he wasn't really healthy then, but it's the last real Tanahashi match.
Yeah, this was by far the worst match on the show. It just never really got out of first gear.
Yeah, Jay White's not even in it. Like, Jay White has in it for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, he's really taking it easy.
Yeah.
Next up, for the never openweight title, Tai Chi against Tomohiro Ishii. Tai Chi beat Jeff Cobb at Dontaku in May to win the belt. Sadly, I guess, is Jeff Cobb in the G1 this year? Do we get to cover some of this Jeff Cobb New Japan run?
I think he is. Let me double check that real quick. I think he's in it, though. Hold on. It's it because his G1 run just came to an end. So, I mean, so he's in the, yeah, he's in it.
Yeah. I didn't quite understand Tai Chi's singing entrance.
Okay. To explain Tai Chi is very difficult because he used to be a comedy junior heavyweight, and then he gained a bunch of weight, and then he became the Black Emperor Tai Chi, which is like a fake singing. I don't even know how you'd explain it. It was a comedy character to begin with, but then he got enough heel heat that he started to get over, and he just kept it. He also had a woman named Miho Abe used to come to the ring with him who was like obsessed with him as if he was like the most charismatic singer in the world. But without her, the whole gimmick kind of doesn't work.
They exchange punches and kicks. Tai Chi knocks down Ishii with a big kick. Keeps using kicks to cut off Ishii's comeback attempts. Tai Chi throws the ref into Ishii. That knocks the ref out. Tai Chi turns the tide with another kick and then uses the Gato clutch for a close 2 count. Tai Chi hits the axe bomber and then locks in a dragon sleeper variation. Then he hits a last ride, but he can only get 2. There were multiple last rides on this show.
Yes, it was a very popular move in the day. This is right around the time that the announcers start calling out the fact that, like, Tai Chi usually doesn't try very hard in his matches. Like, famously, he doesn't actually go very hard. And the announcers start pointing out, like, wait a minute, he's actually, like, being awesome in this match. Why doesn't he do this all the time?
Ishii fires up and no-sells a kick. Then he hits a huge lariat, but he can only get 2. Ishii hits a powerbomb, a sliding lariat, and a brain buster to get the pin.
This is a killer match.
Yeah.
I don't know that Ishii's ever had a bad match.
Nope, not that I can remember.
It's just so funny. Like, all the people who watched New Japan for the first time had the same experience, where this short, dumpy little asshole comes out looking like shit, and then proceeds to have a match that completely blows your fucking mind. And everyone had that first match, whatever it was, and it just never stops being amazing.
Then Shibata comes out. He's been forced into retirement because he headbutted Okada so hard they had to take his brain out of his skull and then put it back in.
Please don't say that. People are going to believe that story again. Yes, that was the rumor, that they literally removed his brain, put some ice on it, and then put it back in.
As one does.
But he did have such horrible brain bleeding that he was told, if you ever get back in the ring again, you will die.
Wrong.
So, yeah, you may have remembered that he's currently in the ops wearing a shirt that says Big Black and Jacked on it. Funny how because his dream was to go to AEW and wrestle Orange Cassidy. Never thought any of that was going to be the
every
case.
little boy dreams of growing up.
But anyway, he's here with another little boy who had a dream, as he's here to introduce Kenta, making his grand return to Japan and his first ever appearance in New Japan.
Where did he wrestle before?
Noah.
Yeah, he was Noah guy.
He was their top star.
Then he had his disastrous run in NXT where he couldn't stop getting hurt.
And like something about that run, the injuries didn't help, but like something about trying to learn the American style. Like, look, if you've ever seen any of Kenta's Noah stuff, I don't know that anybody's ever been a faster moving, harder hitting wrestler than he was at that time. And they obviously had to nerf him for WWE to make it work. And he just was never able to recapture it after that.
Yeah. He announces he's going to enter the G1. Lots of that tonight.
Yeah, the fans are ambivalent. Like, they're excited to see him, but like, there's two things. He burned a lot of Noah fans when he left because he was the last major star left in that company. And there was a feeling after he left that he was basically dooming them to death. And for him to come back, but not go to them, to come to New Japan instead, he turned off a lot of fans with that.
Oh, man. Next match, we've got a tag title match with the Gorillas of Destiny defending against Evil and Sonata.
Hey, speaking of the Gorillas of Destiny, where are they? Are they even on television anymore?
I don't know. I don't watch SmackDown.
Right, but like, I don't even think are they still with Solo? I don't. There was so much potential there, and now I feel like they're just kind of there.
Did Triple H realize they suck?
I mean, only one of them sucks, but he
fair.
really
But he's
sucks.
the funniest wrestler in the world.
It's got to be Tonga Loa. Like,
did just dumb shit. When he tried to low blow somebody and like hit them in the head somehow.
Yeah. There's a whole clip show, like a series of GIFs on Twitter that you can seek out if you want to, of him trying the 619 at extremely slow speeds, of his super chop offense against Okada, where he'd kind of gently tap him in the neck, and
he's so unserious.
But they genuinely the Gorillas of Destiny are the winningest tag team in New Japan history.
Yeah,
like literally, these guys were like a 12
better than Hogan and Inoki.
Oh yeah, much better, of course.
They would bury even Japan Hogan.
Oh yeah, he couldn't keep up.
No, not a chance. Apparently, Jado hit the ring announcer with his kendo stick during the entrance. We didn't get to see that, unfortunately.
Yeah, that just happens, and they reference it, but we don't see it, nor does it relevant. I don't know why he did that.
He uses the stick to cut off Evil and let the Gorillas get the advantage. Sonata gets the hot tag, and he hits a drop kick and a pescado. Sonata tries a Hurricane Rana, but gets cut off with a power bomb. Sonata does the flare flip in the corner and comes back with a springboard missile drop kick. This is more high-flying moves than I was expecting.
Sonata might be the single most athletic wrestler in all the world. He just has the physical charisma of a bucket of water.
Sonata superplexes Tonga and Evil locks him in a sharpshooter. Evil and Sonata go for the magic killer, but Tonga Loa breaks it up. The faces lock on a simultaneous dragon sleeper and sharpshooter. Jado pulls the ref out of the ring, and he hits both the faces with the kendo stick. Bushi runs in and misses him and then hits him with a suicide dive. That's quite the run-in.
Yep, sure is.
Evil and Sonata go for another magic killer, but Tonga slips out and rolls up Evil while holding his tights for the pin.
As went basically every Gorillas of Destiny match. And as with like every Gorillas of Destiny match, this is like a 2-star match. It's fine, whatever. This match was not for the Ring of Honor tag titles, which I think the Gorillas of Destiny also had at this point. I don't know why they didn't have them here.
Oh man.
But okay, the shitty part of the card is done.
Now we get to like it's all bangers from here. So if you want to watch this show, I would really say just watch these last 3 matches.
Normally, it's all the matches after intermission. You can tell how good a New Japan show from this era is based on which side of intermission the Gorillas of Destiny match is. If it's in the undercard, great show. If they creep into the overcard, you don't have to watch that show.
All right. For the junior heavyweight title, Dragon Lee defends against Will Ospreay. You might remember Dragon Lee from his WWE run where they really do nothing with him.
Literally, he was in one of the Money in the Bank qualifier matches, and I forget what he did, but he got like a big pop and like an ooh from the crowd, and I was like, yeah, assholes, he go
rules.
So hard.
It's so annoying that WWE doesn't have a cruiserweight title when they have all these cruiserweights on their roster.
They're literally stockpiling every luchador on earth and have nothing for any of them to do.
No, they just put them in stables of Mexicans.
Yeah.
And you could even do a thing where Dom has to try to cut weight to be a cruiserweight.
I love that idea. Dom the cruiserweight bully.
Dom having to ride an exercise bike in the sauna to cut weight down to be a cruiser sounds hilarious.
This is literally V1 Matt Hardy, and I'm here for it.
Has to give up his chicken tenders.
You pry him out of his cold, dead hands.
They do an awesome start with a lot of flips. Then Ospreay hits a pescado. Ospreay goes for the Os cutter, but Lee blocks it. Ospreay takes a second to pose and gets absolutely blasted with a drop kick. I love when reality ensues.
Yep. We should probably mention Ospreay's probably 50 pounds of muscle lighter at this point than he is now. Like, he looks like a child compared to the grown man we have today.
Ospreay springboards into the ring, but Lee catches him with an STO. Lee hits a big drop kick into the corner. He goes for the space flying. Ospreay goes for the space flying tiger drop, but Lee moves out of the way, and Ospreay just casually lands on his feet.
Of course he does. That's just what he does. That is, I think, the third most insane athletic achievement in this match.
Lee then sets Ospreay up on the railing for an insane suicide dive.
This is number 1.
He flies through the air like a bullet and knocks him into the crowd. This
railing is probably 8 feet away from the ring. And like, he doesn't just make it to the railing, he hits Ospreay in the chest going 40 miles an hour.
They fight up on the top rope. Ospreay knocks Dragon off and then hits him with a corkscrew moonsault down to the floor. Back in the ring, Lee reverses a Stormbreaker attempt into a swinging DDT. Ospreay comes back with an Os cutter, and they're both down. Okay. Lee goes for a German suplex, but Ospreay lands on his feet. They trade blows. Lee hits a V-trigger and a poison Rana and comes off the ropes, but Ospreay is ready for him with a Spanish fly. My God.
Yep.
Like, this is just blowing my mind to even read and remember that they did this stuff.
Again, we're in an era now where pretty much everyone in wrestling is pretty damn good. And like, the quality of wrestling we get on a week-to-week basis is great. But like, this was a time when these people like this were inventing shit you'd never seen before on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever seen anybody do some of the stuff Ospreay's doing.
Nope.
Lee with a Hurricane Rana that sends Ospreay to the floor, but Ospreay lands on his feet again.
Jeez.
Can't explain that.
That Hurricane Rana thing where he like lands on his feet is like the signature spot that made him, right? Like when, like, I think that was when Ibushi went for the Super Frankensteiner and he landed on his feet, like, and then Ibushi just kind of looked back at him in that classic iconic shot. Like, he just always lands on his fucking feet.
Ospreay powerbombs Lee on the apron and then hits him with a shooting star press. Ospreay goes for an Os cutter where he springboards off the ropes, but Lee cuts him off with a knee strike to the back. The spot Daniel Bryan did to him at Dynasty last year.
Because Bryan watches his tape.
Yeah. They fight on the top rope, and Lee hangs Ospreay off the ropes. Then he does a double foot stomp all the way down to the floor. How the hell did he not break his legs there?
I always wonder, like, the double foot stomp also always looks like it's super painful, but it must not be. They must know how to work it. But how do you do it to the fucking floor?
It was a bad idea. I think he did hurt himself.
Dragon Lee was known for hurting himself and others, especially Hiromu Takahashi.
Ospreay is down on the floor. The count gets to 19 before he manages to get back into the ring. Lee hits Ospreay with a Canadian Destroyer and a Shining Wizard, but Ospreay somehow gets a shoulder up.
Jeez.
Ospreay reverses, what's this called? The Desco Narada?
The Desco Narada, yeah.
Hits a couple kicks, a hidden blade, an Os Cutter, and the Stormbreaker for the pin. An insane match, a paradigm-shifting match. This really launches Ospreay to stardom.
This match and his performance in Super Junior were so good that they put him in the G1 this year. It's way too early for him to be in the G1. He's still such a junior heavyweight. He doesn't belong with the heavyweights. But at this point, he's just becoming completely undeniable. Like, he's something we've never seen before. They do this one spot in this match, which is so small, but I love it, where, like, Dragon Lee starts to, like, run away from Ospreay, and Ospreay somehow, like, hook kicks him, so his foot is hits him in the face as he's running away from him, and I still don't know how that math works. The man is incredible. Dave gave this 5 stars. I heartily agree.
Yeah. And they show respect for each other after the match.
Of course, naturally. Dragon Lee's not with this company for very much longer.
No.
He goes to Ring of Honor for a while, kicks around. I think he does like a cup of tea in AEW, and then WWE gets him and doesn't use him. Sad.
Yeah. I think he's still there, right?
Yeah, he's still there. Like I said, he wrestled in a triple threat like 2 weeks ago.
All right, sub-main event for the Intercontinental title. Ibushi defends against Naito. Ibushi's 1-2 straight. He's going for the hat trick. He is in ridiculous shape here.
You know how in basketball there's certain games that are called like the flu game or like whatever? There aren't that many matches that have names like that, but this one does. In Japan, this is known as the neck death match.
Yep.
If you've ever seen either of these two wrestle, you might have an idea of what's about to come, but yeah, it's worse than you think.
So they're having a good match for the first 12 minutes. Naito is being very disrespectful. He spits on Ibushi. The crowd seems to be more behind Ibushi because Naito is so disrespectful. And then they fight on the apron. They both tease that they're going to do moves. Naito gets behind Ibushi. You see him tell the young boys, like, get the photographers out of the way, get them back. He keeps looking back to make sure it's clear. I think he's trying to German suplex him off the apron, but he doesn't throw him far enough.
So Ibushi was supposed to do the backflip spot and land on his stomach. That's what they're trying to do. Okay.
On the apron?
No, on the floor.
Off. Okay. He was going to suplex him off and he was going to do the full rotation.
Yeah. So as Ibushi tries to do the backflip, he doesn't get full rotation and his head is at a 45-degree angle when it hits the apron and the rest of his body continues onto the floor.
The way his neck snapped here, I cannot believe he didn't break his neck.
According to Ibushi, this didn't even hurt. It's just the way that it looked.
Holy
it looked
shit.
so bad.
Yeah. You would have thought he was paralyzed.
Yeah. They paused the match for 1 second.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's insane that he's not examined by a doctor here.
But yeah, he said, Naito asked him if he was fine. He's like, yeah, why? because he didn't even realize his head had hit the apron.
I mean, yeah, like again, when they show it in slow motion, you see his head whiplash.
Yeah. So this is ugly. If you think that's going to lead to the end of the match in any significant way, guess again, bub.
Nope. No, they absolutely like one. I think it should have the match should have just stopped, and Naito should just be declared the winner here because I don't think it was safe for Ibushi to continue.
I do want to say, Dave Meltzer, this is the angriest he's ever been about unsafeness in a match. He refused to rate this match because he thought it was such an insanely dangerous spectacle. He equated it to Mankind versus The Undertaker Hell in a Cell.
It's pretty bad because keep track of all the neck bumps we're about to talk about after that.
Yep.
Naito hits a reverse Frankensteiner off the top rope, which, would not be the first thing I did after that German.
It's the first move they do.
Ibushi comes back with a tombstone where he appears to drop Naito square on his head.
Yep.
Then they get up on their feet and headbutt each other, because why not?
Again, this is post Shibata literally ending his career, and these are shoot headbutts. Naito gets a black eye from this that he had, like literally it starts to swell before the end of the match.
Ibushi sets up for the Bumaye, but Naito counters with the Dragon Suplex, another neck bump.
Yep.
Destino, but Ibushi kicks out. Ibushi blocks another Destino, hits the go to sleep and a last ride. Naito then hits a sick DDT where again he seems to drop Ibushi straight on his head.
Yeah, this is RVD style.
Naito hits a Destino from the second rope, but he still can't get the pin. Ibushi blocks a Destino, but Naito hits a Poison Rana.
Uh-huh.
And then a Northern Lights bomb that I cannot believe was not the finish.
Again, first
right
of all,
on the head. Every move in this match is on the head.
You could convince me that all of this was premeditated. That like the neck bump on the apron was on purpose. Because if you look, you could explain it by saying that Ibushi was trying to backflip and just had the angle wrong. Or you could explain it that he was specifically reaching out his head to try to hit the apron. Because that is, in fact, what happened. And since every other move in the whole match works the neck, I kind of think it was on purpose.
Yeah. Naito picks him up, hits another Destino, and finally gets the pin. This was a very good match in the sense that it was dramatic and athletic and interesting, but it was hard to watch. I just think this was going too far.
This is a infamous and legendary match in wrestling history. So much so that the next time they wrestled, there was I can't remember. There was a press conference that they did. It wasn't the one for Wrestle Kingdom, but there's a press conference they did where like people in attendance yelled, "Please don't die" at them.
Oh my God. And after the match, Naito puts his foot on Ibushi's head to send a message.
Los Ingobernables, baby. No respect.
None. All right. They roll the IWGP Champions package, which I absolutely love. Have to shout this out every time they show it.
It is funny because now it's so much shorter because we're into the new belt, so they're just not
they only show the IWGP World Heavyweight Champions now.
Yeah, because the old lineage died. It's just the new lineage.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
Then they do the promo for the Jericho Okada match, and it's time for the main event. The match the world has come to see for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Kazuchika Okada defends against the Painmaker, Chris Jericho. This is what the world has come to.
This is a deeply polarizing match, you guys. And I'll explain why at the end. Yes.
I liked it, but I'm a guy, Jen.
So there's a reason for why this match unfolds the way that it does. I'll explain it at the end.
Judas seems dubbed over here for Jericho's entrance. There was an issue with the rights. Sony asked for something like $2,000 to play it, and New Japan wouldn't pay. Jericho says if they had told him, he would have just paid it himself.
Yeah, but New Japan has never paid a fucking dime for
No.
music, and they never will.
Crowd is very hot at the start of the match. It's a loud chant for Okada.
Yeah, you gotta say, like, every time Jericho came to New Japan, it was a huge success. Like, it really was. Like, but at this point, he's such a nuclear heel there, and like, Okada wasn't getting face reactions like this at this point. This is a big one.
About 2 minutes in, Okada goes for a missile drop kick from the top, but Jericho catches him in the walls of Jericho. Okada manages to get the ropes for the break. They go to the floor. Jericho DDTs Okada through a table. That is quite the start we're off to.
Yeah, it is.
Jericho proceeds to just kick Okada's ass for, I don't know, the next at least 5 minutes.
Kind of. You can definitely tell that, like, the crowd is surprised that that's how this is going.
Okada finally gets on the board with a flapjack. Okada takes him to the floor. He goes to dive over the railing onto him, but Jericho catches him out of the air with a code breaker.
Yeah.
Holy shit. When they replayed, he got the knee went to his sternum, which somehow seems even more devastating.
Yeah, that seems so painful.
I would not want to take that. Jericho seems happy to take the count out. I guess titles can change hands on countouts in New Japan.
No, they can't. That's the thing. So really? I don't know why he wants the count out.
Okay, Jericho doesn't seem to mind winning by count out, though.
Yeah.
But Okada drags himself back to the ring. They do a bunch of tombstone reversals that end with Jericho locking in the walls of Jericho again. Okada makes the ropes. He comes back with a drop kick. Jericho tries to jump off the second rope, but Okada gets him with another drop kick and a tombstone. You know, he does the pose, sets up for the Rainmaker, but Jericho ducks it, keeps the arms, double underhooks him, and hits the Tiger Bomb for a 2 count.
Yeah.
Old fat Jericho getting Okada up for the Tiger Bomb surprised me.
Pretty impressive.
Jericho goes for the code breaker, but Okada cuts him off with a neck breaker. Jericho turns the tide with a springboard drop kick. Jericho goes for a superplex, but Okada throws him off the top and hits the flying elbow. Okada again signals for the Rainmaker, but Jericho once again ducks it and hits an enziguri. Okada just can't hit that Rainmaker, can he?
No, he can't.
Jericho hits the Lion Salt for a 2 count. Okada comes back with a shotgun drop kick. Jericho hits a code breaker. He undoes the pad that covers the turnbuckle, but Okada cuts him off with a German suplex. Okada tries another Rainmaker. Jericho ducks it. Jericho tries a Rainmaker. Okada ducks it. Okada hits Jericho with the code breaker.
That was pretty cool because he's definitely never done that move before.
Okada can do anything.
Yep.
Tombstone from Jericho. Okada goes for the Rainmaker for like the 15th time, but Jericho ducks it. He locks on the walls of Jericho again. After Okada makes the ropes, Jericho puts him into the exposed turnbuckle. He lines up for the Judas effect, but Okada ducks it. Okada goes for the Rainmaker. Jericho ducks it. He goes for a cradle, but Okada sits down into a pin to get the 1, 2, 3. What do you make of Jericho not losing to Okada's finish?
So this is actually brilliant to me. I think this is the smartest worked match of Chris Jericho's entire career. So Okada is like Ric Flair and Bret Hart and all the best in that normally he just gives you the Okada match, right? It has all the Okada spots. He does all the Okada stuff. And in this match, every single time he tries to do one of his things, Jericho doesn't let him. Even down to like the very beginning of the match where he does his like back you up to the corner, pat you on the chest and walk away to be superior. Jericho pokes him right in the eyes. Like the whole match is just about Jericho stealing Okada's shit from him, including the Rainmaker. Like, he had to find a way to beat him without it because you just couldn't do it. I thought that was so great because it puts the fans so on edge that none of Okada's spots work. All the stuff they're looking for fails. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. And this sets up another match between them for down the line, which I don't think happens because the pandemic hits and Jericho can't go to Japan.
Yeah. This isn't like the most amazingly worked match because he's still old ass Jericho.
Yeah.
Like, he can't keep up with Okada believably.
But watching him here, he's so much better here than he was in AEW. He's been in AEW recently.
Yeah, for sure. But like, I just think that like knowing what Okada matches tended to be laid out by, which the fans did, makes this such a better match because it is literally just about Jericho stealing from the fans everything they want to see. I think that's beautiful.
Jericho's like the Joker here. He's just finding ways to antagonize Okada at every turn.
Yeah, he never even comes close to credibly beating Okada. No. He was never going to win.
Well, he just fucks with him.
Yeah, I just think it's great. This is not like an amazing main event, and this is not an amazing show, but it's pretty fucking good.
I mean, that was what I was saying. It's amazing. This is not like a top 10 New Japan show or anything.
No.
But it's very good. These last 3 matches were all bangers.
For sure. Yes, absolutely.
After the match, Jericho beats on Okada. He gets a chair and hits Okada. Then he hits the Judas effect. Jericho sets up to crush Okada's throat with the chair, but Tanahashi jumps out of the announce booth to stop him.
Now that was fucking cool.
Yeah, I mean, how often have Okada and Tanahashi teamed up, if they ever?
I can't remember if it's happened yet or not.
Like there's a show. I know I was looking at cards and there's a show where they team up, but I don't remember when it was.
Yeah, whenever it was where they do like they call them literally the dream team.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it's already happened or not, but yeah, the idea that Tanahashi's such a babyface, he even comes to Okada's defense. That's the story here.
Jericho gets on the mic and talks shit before he leaves. Says something about Japan being bullshit.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And Okada's helped to the back by Tanahashi. The fans are furious that they don't get a post-match Okada promo.
Again,
they felt ripped off.
Jericho takes it all away. Oh, man. There was a lot of fear at this time that Jericho was going to declare for the G1, and we were all fucking terrified. It would have been awful.
He couldn't have done that. He would have been dust after 2 matches.
Fully agree.
Who's the saddest entrant ever in the G1?
The saddest entrant ever. Oh, Steve. Oh, you know what? I will come back to you next week with the saddest entrant in the G. I got to do some research for that.
Okay. Since it's a New Japan show, let's do a Stump Kyush.
Ooh.
Here, Chris Jericho was attempting to become the 9th Gaijin to hold the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Can you name all 8 Gaijin who did hold the IWGP Heavyweight Championship? Note, I am not counting the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, which has had a very high percentage of Gaijin champions.
Okay. Yes, I think I can do this. Okay.
One of these is a horrible trick.
So let's start from the beginning. Vader is the first one to hold it. Unless we're counting the actual Grand Prix when it was a tournament.
Oh, of course we are.
Okay, so then Hogan was the first to hold it.
Oh, no, we're not actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was about to say, back in the day, it was like a pre-G1 tournament, and Hogan was literally the first winner. We ignore that. All right, so we got Vader, right?
Yep.
We got Scott Norton, obviously got on the board.
Yep, Big Scott.
Bob Sapp, big and sexy.
Yep, the Beast.
Jay White.
No, he held the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship.
Fuck, you're right. Okay, AJ Styles?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, boy. It's like 4 more of these? Lesnar, obviously, infamously.
Disgrace.
Did Don Fry hold this?
No, surprisingly.
Okay. Who am I missing? Let's see here. AJ Omega. I don't know why I didn't Omega.
Because he's not American. But
Yeah.
Gaijin means foreigner.
Are you sure Jay White didn't win this belt?
I don't believe so. Let me pull the Wikipedia up. Oh yeah, he did.
Okay,
Yeah,
I was about to say.
what am I talking about? Yeah, he had it right, but yeah, he had it here right before Okada.
All right,
so
it's
actually 9 then. There's two more.
I'm missing one?
There's 2 more.
2 more.
Yeah.
Fuck me.
One is insane and one is a trick.
One of the Russian guys won it.
Yes. I'll give you Salman Hashmikov.
Hashmikov.
Not Zangief, unfortunately, who was the better one.
One is a trick. Who is that?
This is filthy. Riki Choshu. Born
because he's
Japan,
Korean.
Yes.
Fucking hell.
Faced enormous discrimination as a Korean Japanese.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I should have gotten that one. Fuck me.
That was the trick. And then, the World Heavyweight Championship. You've had Ospreay, Jay White, Moxley, and Zack Sabre Jr. in, the couple of years it's been around.
Because I don't have any fucking Japanese guys over anymore.
Exactly.
Well, I really enjoyed that Stump Q. But I did prepare a Stump Steve just for the occasion.
Of course you did.
That I think you can win.
Okay.
Okay? We're just coming off the Best of the Super Juniors tournament, right?
Yeah.
There have been 35 total Best of the Super Junior tournaments to date. Relax. I'm not going to do that to you.
Name all the winners.
No, there have been 24 unique winners, and only 6 of them have been Gaijin. I'm going to, or only 5 of them. I'm sorry. I'm going to tell you 6 names, and you're going to tell me which one of them did not win it.
Okay.
Okay. Ricochet, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, Will Ospreay, Finn Balor, Eddie Guerrero.
Ooh. I'm going to say Jericho.
That is correct, my friend. Those other 5 are the only Gaijin ever to win.
Benoit won his Wild Pegasus.
Yep.
What was that? What was Eddie's character?
Black Tiger.
A Black Tiger.
Finn won it as Prince Devitt, obviously.
Yeah.
And
Ricochet's just Ricochet, bald asshole.
Yep, that's right. So yeah, congratulations, you did it.
Not bad. All right, we didn't get any Twitter questions this week. Cowards.
You fucking charlatans. Can't reward me in my hour of greatness. But that's okay.
Nobody listens to these New Japan shows. This is okay, just for us.
I have a forum feud for you, Steve.
Of course you do.
In honor not of Japanese wrestling, but instead of the man who main events this show, Steve, what is the greatest match of Chris Jericho's career?
Ooh. I'm going to have to think about that for a second. You can go first if you've got something in mind.
It's a little bit tough because this is a man who has a lot of good matches, but not that many
great ones.
So I think most people hold up like your Jericho versus Michaels at WrestleMania, or Jericho versus Michaels at No Mercy, or Jericho versus Michaels the other time.
Almost all of his good matches are against Shawn Michaels. Honorable mention, I love one of the matches against Ray it's an 2009 for the Intercontinental title.
Is that the mask versus title match?
I think it's the one I really loved, I think, was the one where he won the title because he went to rip Ray's mask off and Ray, grabbed his mask to hold it on and Jericho rolled him up. But also the mask versus title was great. I'm going to say, this is unconventional, I'm going to say Shawn versus Jericho, but not the ladder match at No Mercy. I'm going to say the street fight at Unforgiven, just because I loved the story about how Jericho had pushed Shawn so far to the dark side that Shawn had become the monster he had been trying to fight against. And just the whole troll they did there, where Shawn beats Jericho bloody, and then Jericho wins the world title in the main event, and he comes out the next night and he's showing the fans all his bruises and welts, and he's like, look what your hero Shawn Michaels did to me. You think he's a good man?
That is an incredible match.
Yeah.
And it's probably the correct answer. And I also way prefer that to the ladder match. I think it's a genius match. One of the best matches of Sean's career. But I'm going to argue a pervert's answer because I've never gone into any forum ever and argued for the easy answer. Where's the fun in that? I pick Chris Jericho versus Triple H Hell in a Cell.
That match sucks.
That match is amazing.
Oh, that match ruined Hell in a Cell.
That match has 3 purposes.
That match is one step above The Undertaker versus the Big Boss Man.
That is a fucking lie. And the reason why you think so is because it is fixed in our heads that that's the match that brought it down, because that's the match that had to reteach what Hell in a Cell was.
I thought The Undertaker versus Big Boss Man had already done that.
No, that taught us what Hell in a Cell unfortunately is. No, this is the match that taught us the new generation of Hell in a Cell. There's going to be more brawly. It's going to be, we're not going to throw people off the fucking cell. It's not all about the big spot. And it had an impossible role to play in order to do that, because it literally, no one was ready to accept that people weren't going to get thrown off the fucking Hell in a Cell. Somebody had to be the first one to break the actual taboo of it.
Yeah,
and it
the
wasn't
Undertaker and the Big Boss Man.
He got hung to death in the ring.
Hung. They hung the motherfucker.
Also, the whole brood jumped off the fucking rafters and almost died.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think that match was good at all. I thought it was boring and dragged, and the crowd wasn't into it at all. And there's a reason Jericho got busted back into the mid card afterwards. Whereas, Jericho versus Michaels elevated Jericho to be a world champion.
Yeah, you know what? Even my own reasoning here is ringing hollow, because while I will argue that it was an important match in wrestling history,
I don't think it was that important.
I wanted to come out with like a real stumper that would get you, and then I realized I don't know that Chris Jericho has ever had a great match ever in his career that didn't involve Shawn Michaels.
It's all Shawn Michaels, and he worked well with Ray, but I haven't watched those matches against Ray from 2009 or whenever that is in a really long time. So yeah, I can think of lots of people he had stanky chemistry with. He was good. That match with Rock last week.
You know what? I probably should the match with Rock.
That No Mercy match. That was really good. I don't know if I'd call it a classic.
I don't think Chris Jericho has ever given anyone their best match. And I think that's an indictment of him as a wrestler. So while this started out as a way to honor Chris Jericho, it turned into a way to bury him, much like most feuds with Chris Jericho do.
Yeah. All right. Do we have any other recurring segments we do? I can't remember.
I mean, normally we could debate what the next show is going to be, but
we have to do that. I have no idea what the next show is going to be.
Okay, so what are our options here, Stevie boy? You got to pick one.
We could do a King of the Ring, we could do King of the Ring '93, which is the original, where Hogan drops the title to Yokozuna and Bret Hart wins the King of the Ring, or we could do King of the Ring '95, which is the worst one in history.
King of the Ring '95 might be the worst show in history. Yeah. It's really the one that we're never, ever going to cover, because I just can't ever imagine a world in which I would want to talk about it.
I feel like we could use another week away from WWE after we did 15 WWE shows in a row.
All right. Did you have something in mind?
We could do TNA Slammiversary 2006.
Ooh.
Featuring a little King of the Mountain match. Christian
Steve,
Cage.
You're still speaking my language, baby. All right.
Christian Cage being screwed out of the TNA World Championship. Actually, it's still the NWA Championship at that point. Being screwed by crooked referee Earl Hebner.
The Orlando screw job. I like it.
That's something. Is there perhaps a WCW Clash of the Champions from June that would be interesting to do?
I don't know that I could tell you what Clash of Champions ever existed. Let's take a look down memory lane here. We have a Clash of the Champions 7, Guts and Glory.
Ooh, Guts and Glory.
That's Steamboat versus Terry Funk.
Man, we do love us some 1989 WCW.
We have Coastal Crunch with Flair versus Junkyard Dog. I won't be watching that.
Oh boy, that is a stinky, stinky match.
Ric Flair versus Bobby Eaton, 2 out of 3 falls. No, thank you.
Yeah, I don't think this is happening.
I wish.
The pervert tag team tournament.
The pervert tag. Oh, wait a minute. Which one is that?
This is June 1992. Look at this tag team.
Oh my God, Steve!
This is sick.
Okay, let's talk about these tag teams.
I don't think we can put our. I don't think we can put our fans through this.
All right, there are other pervert tag team shows that we're definitely going to do.
Chris Benoit and Biff Wellington.
Liger and Pillman versus Benoit and Biff.
Silver Kings. And the main event is Gordy and Williams against the Steiners, which I'm always up for. Let me see. WCW pay-per-views in the month of June. June was not historically a big pay-per-view month for WCW.
That is definitely true. It was usually the Great American Bash.
It was it's the later 90s Great American Bash when the Bash was lame. The good bashes, the true bashes were in July. 95, Randy Savage versus Ric Flair.
It's not bad.
We did 96 last year. I want to do that again. 97, 98, 99. I feel like doing any of these. No.
You know what? You sold me with TNA Slammiversary 06. Let's do it. Move. We have not visited TNA in some time.
It was February. We did Christian winning the title, so this is kind of the next chapter as he loses it.
It's time to talk about the Orlando Screwjob. We get to talk about Ron the Truth killings.
We get to talk the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
We get to talk about Joe versus Scott Steiner, which is sadly not in any of those famous promos that Steiner cut on Joe, like when he said he's fat, or the Steiner math. We get Kevin Nash versus a cruiserweight. We get a Rhino handicap match. Sure. We get a bingo hall brawl.
A bingo hall brawl.
This is a good one, buddy. They drew
great.
A whole 900 people for this show.
Wow, they sold out the Impact Zone.
The tagline, this is the one, and indeed it was.
Sure is. All right. So yeah, we'll have all that and more next time on the Lawcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again next time.